All right, brothers and sisters, it is April the 5th, 2013. What I'm going to present to you now, I think you're going to find astonishing and amazing. Something happened back in the 1980s. We're going to take a look at the reality in this video of fallen angels. I'm going to put the link to this article below. It's quite long in the Show More section, right above the comment box for you. Now, something happened back in the 1980s. And I wish I would have had this information when I did my 17-part series on UFOs, aliens, and fallen angels. But let me bring you this story. I'm going to put my glasses on. Space angels, aliens, or signs of the apocalypse. In the summer of 1984, 6 highly trained cosmonauts claimed to have had an unbelievable encounter with a group of gargantuan celestial beings of unknown origin in the star-filled expanse above our world. Were these colossal beings the result of a mass delusion, a sign of something miraculous, or the heralds of unimaginable doom? Scores of UFOs and other unidentified airborne objects have been spied by astronauts and their ilk since the earliest days of manned space flight. Major Gordon Cooper, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and dozens of other NASA and Russian space explorers harbor no doubt that the Earth is being visited and observed by non-human intelligences with access to technology far in advance of our own. But as fascinating as this phenomenon surely is, the bulk of these sightings pale in comparison before a bizarre series of encounters reported by cosmonauts aboard the Salyut 7 back in July of 1984. Since the dawn of the atomic age, the threat of global annihilation has hung over the collective heads of the human race like a radioactive sword. Mercifully, the bitter rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union never manifested in the hellfire of nuclear holocaust that once seemed so inevitable. But for those of us who remember living under that horrific cloud of atomic anxiety, a serious question remains. Did we manage to dodge this apocalyptic bullet by chance? Or was there some kind of divine intervention? What I'm going to present to you, I am not saying is divine intervention by any means. I'm going to leave that up to you. The series of events that occurred on the Salyut 7 do not answer this question, but rather compel us to consider the possibility that there are others in this universe that, in the most dire of times, manifest in ways that force us to question the very foundation of our beliefs as well as our place in the cosmos. Now, something took place aboard this space station. The space station became illuminated and with a reddish and orange glow. And the cosmonauts aboard the space station thought possibly their space station was on fire, engulfed in fire. And they panicked. They're in a panic, and they radioed down to ground control, thinking that there's a fire aboard the space station. When they're blinded by this light and they look through the portholes, and what they see, I think they're going to be astonished. All right. The Salyut 7, which translates as Salyut 7, was a low Earth orbit space station that was launched on April 19, 1982. Now, the Salyut 7 represented the Soviet space program's change from monolithic to more modular space stations and was first manned in May of 1982. The station was designed to conduct scientific experiments, but in July of 1984, the Salyut 7 would serve as a site of arguably the strongest close encounter in the relatively brief history of manned space exploration. Although the official chronicling of this event is fraught with chronological inconsistencies, but by the best estimations, the first reported sightings of these so-called celestial beings, which would also come to be known as space angels, occurred back on July 12th of 1984. I hope I pronounced the cosmonauts' names correctly. If not, I apologize. Cosmonauts Leonid Kizim, Vladimir Solovov, and cardiologist Oleg Atkov were on their astonishing 155th day aboard the Salyut 7, conducting medical experiments when the trio noticed what they described as a brilliant orange cloud surrounding the station. The Salyut 7 had been plagued by a steady stream of system failures, and the men aboard the craft were understandably concerned that this bright glow might represent a life-threatening fire. Fearing the worst, the cosmonauts rushed to the portholes only to find themselves blinded by an eerily intense luminance that poured in through the circular portholes. After their vision adjusted to the light, the curious cosmonauts radioed ground control that the station was bathed in a luminous, self-illuminating mist. The men returned to the portholes, shielding their eyes from the radiance, and that's when they spied something so incredible that it would forever alter their perception of reality. Now, I'm going to check my time. I do not know what these gentlemen, these cosmonauts' religious belief was, if any. But now we're going to find out what it was, what they seen, what they witnessed. All right. According to reports published in newspapers across the globe, including the Washington Post, the three Russian explorers saw colossal, winged, humanoid entities hovering just outside the station in the vacuum of space. Were these the fallen angels? The faces of these beings were said to resemble those of humans, with peaceful expressions, and the Soviet scientists even claimed that the creatures noticed them and offered distinctive smiles. They smiled back. Now, this quote was published in the later newspaper reports, although it's difficult to discern which cosmonaut it was credited to, though some have suggested it may have been Solovov. What we saw were 7 giant figures in the form of humans, but with wings and a mist-like halos surrounding them, as in the classic depiction of angels. The cosmonauts went on to describe the mist halo beings as being nearly 80 feet in height, with a wingspan comparable to that of a 747 jet, although it should be noted that there is no indication in the public record of how these men of science came to these proportional estimations. The men observed the soaring beings for approximately 10 minutes before they vanished, leaving the isolated and surely perplexed comrades to ponder what it was that they had seen and try to gather the courage to report it to their superiors below. I don't want to make too long of a video. The article is very long. No, it doesn't end there. It happens again on another mission to that same space station. This time they have a female astronaut aboard, and they witness the exact same thing. I got a couple of minutes. I know you guys don't like real long videos, but I mean, I am just amazed by this. By their own admission, the cosmonauts were themselves reluctant to accept the existence of the oddly angelic beings which they had seen, and concluded that they were more likely suffering from some form of mass delusion brought on by their extended space travel than an actual encounter with aliens, or perhaps even divine entities. Their self-induced denial would be put to the test 11 days later, when additional cosmonauts arrived at the station and the celestial beings returned. 11 days later, and this time with a female astronaut on board. They witnessed the exact same thing. These gigantuan beings, winged beings with the face of the human. I thought you'd find this very interesting. We're truly living in the very, very last days. I believe what's next is the church to be removed, and that great battle to take place, and Satan falls with his watchers, his fallen angels, and they are going to wreak havoc on this earth. You are not saved. Please fall down on your face now. Admit to the living God, your living God, that you're a sinner. Acknowledge that Jesus went to that cross on Calvary, and on the third day he rose and he is alive. And call upon him to come into your heart. I love you all. Leave me comments everywhere. God bless you.